Have you ever been sitting in a regional airport, getting ready to board a small plane, look over to the person next to you who is holding a classic business briefcase in their lap? They put their thumbs on the two latches and pull them apart so that the lid opens up. And inside the briefcase is a Danielle Steele novel and a hard-boiled egg. I have, because that's what happened to me in Redmond, Oregon this past week. Welcome to the Pete the Planner Show, everyone. Hello, Kristen. Hello.
Hello. That's incredible.
It was so weird. And again, just an observation. I shouldn't say it's weird because that seems super rude, but it was unusual. Open it up. You know, that click sound on those old briefcases?
Oh, yeah.
Pop, pop. It opens up. Danielle Steele novel, which is like a Harlequin, I think, right? It's like a romance. She grabbed the backside, as you know, like those sorts of things. And then a hard-boiled egg. And the person squeezed the egg, the shell was still on it, squeezed it, sort of came off in one piece. The trash can was next to us, dropped it in, and then just popped the whole egg in their mouth, opened up the book, and it was just chewing yolk and reading love.
That's vile.
It was gross. I will also say there were two hard-boiled egg incidents on the road this week. At another airport, I think this was in Salt Lake City, a guy ate 6 hard-boiled eggs at the gate. And I know that a hard-boiled egg is like a power food, you know, but I was thinking, God, I hope I don't sit next to this gentleman because that could get foul, right?
That's aggressive. 6 eggs?
6 eggs. 6 hard-boiled. I'm like, this guy clearly doesn't have a cholesterol issue, or does he? Kristen, Dame is not here this week. He is on his he's on his rewards trip. Dame's been here 5 years here at Your Money Line. You're here for 5 years. We kick you out. No, we send you on a nice little vacation. So Dame is on his rewards trip. I don't know where they went. We'll let him tell us where they went, although there could be bears there. That's all I know.
That is true. My biggest fear.
Kristen, have you ever seen a bear in the wild?
Yes, I have. And I literally did the thing that you're not supposed to do when you see a bear in the wild.
Sing it a lullaby?
I wasn't running, but I might as well have been running.
You ran from a bear?
I did. In a very, very, very remote area in Lake Tahoe, California.
Oh, I've been to Lake Tahoe. Was that the point of this story, to just tell us what sort of luxurious vacations you go on?
No. That's a warning for one of our coworkers who is going to Lake Tahoe. Just watch for bears, man.
Oh, I don't even know who this is. I feel like I've had very uncertain encounters with bears. We were on the way to South Carolina last year, and we were in North Carolina, and we think we saw a bear on the side of the road going through some garbage, but we're not sure. Like, it was one of those peripheral vision. We're going 70 miles an hour. Was that a bear? Was it a rock? No one knows. And then honestly, when I was in Oregon this past week, this is crazy. Okay. So it's about 3 a.m, 2 a.m. I hear just this roaring, and I'm in the woods in Oregon. I'm in Bend, Oregon. And I'm like, I feel like that is a bear roaring. But then I was so tired. It's also possible, this is not a joke, by the way, it's also possible that the room next to me, the walls were so thin, it was just a very large man snoring. Like, it would equal possibility there.
Yeah, that's valid.
How you doing? You had a good dinner party last week? I know you were hosting a dinner party and it went well.
I did. It went very well. So I love to host. It stresses me out, but I also love to put unnecessary stress on myself. It's one of my favorite things. So I had a blast.
I love to have people over. Mrs. Planner doesn't share that same preference. So we don't have a lot of people over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I like it because it keeps me accountable to making sure that my house is really clean because you always
Sure.
want to be on your best behavior when other people are coming over. So I like to kind of use it as accountability. If I'm feeling like, man, I do not want to do this, well, I'm now having dinner on Saturday at my house. So now I have to.
Kristen, I may be in a good mood next week on the show because the big soccer tournament is this weekend. My girls, my 14-year-old girls, going to
Oh,
try to win the Challenge Cup. I'm very excited.
wonderful. I thought you were
So,
going to tell me. I thought you were going to tell me it was like some like national or like world tournament that I should know about. And I was like, oh, this is about to be so embarrassing. I thought you were going to like quiz me, but whew, we're
no,
good. I'm excited for
just
them.
just my 14-year-old girls. All right, Kristen, this is a financial show. And so
Sort of.
let's do financial things. First segment, we're going to call
Pete and Kristen react to tweets about money.
It feels like sort of a tired thing where we react to tweets, but I will say there's these two tweets are interesting and we have thoughts. And so we will just share different perspectives based off of these tweets that I don't want to say they went viral because that's weird too. They just like
Mhm.
people saw them and people reacted and we're going to react. Then we're going to talk about housing. 66% of people apparently think that owning a home is hopeless. These are renters that believe that. Third segment. What do we say that? Third one's my column, right? We're going to do my column. Is that what
Mhm.
you're doing?
Yes.
Okay, from this
Yes.
week. And then Boaman news. Obviously, Dame is out this week. Probably riding a bear. I don't know. All right, Kristen, you want to do this thing?
Suppose.
Suppose. Let me set up the clock here. Oh, podcasters. Hello, podcasters. Oh, we are very close to the 500th episode. Actually, let me see what we're on right
Yes.
now. Do you know what we're on?
I do not know, but on your spreadsheet, you said.
Go figure. I have a spreadsheet. Huh? Really? We're on four. This episode is 495. Oh,
Ooh.
it's getting so close. It's so close that we're absolutely going to forget when it's episode 500.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, 100%. I'm not going to remember. Okay. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. This week on the Pete the Planner Show, we answer your money questions. Here's how the show works. You email us askpete@petetheplanner.com. That's askpete@petetheplanner.com. And here's what'll happen. Occasionally, we'll answer your question on the air. Occasionally, it'll get stuck in spam and you'll just think we don't care about you. And occasionally, we don't care and we just want to answer it. Joining me as generally all the time, Kristen Elanius, Director of Education at Your Moneyline. That's still your title, right?
It is still my title. Thank you.
Fantastic. Good to be with you again. Damian Dunn is on sabbatical this week. I don't know. Fancy vacation. Okay, Kristen, here's what's on the show this week. We are going to do Pete and Kristen, P and K react to tweets. Ooh. I don't know what that is. Second segment, we're going to talk about how renters are feeling like the idea of homeownership is a hopeless endeavor. And then the third in the show, we're going to talk about my Indianapolis Business Journal column this week that I actually feel really good at. Kristen, you know, from time to time, I create these metrics and scales and these different things, and sometimes they're good, sometimes they aren't. The game we're going to play today is this a good one? It's a new one.
Oh, no.
Well, I sent it through the Slack channel, that article. Did you happen to read it?
Yes, I did. Well, I skimmed it. Is that
Oh,
bad?
boy, thanks. Yeah, I think so. All right, so let's get started. Kristen, there were 2 tweets this week that we want to discuss that we saw.
Mhm.
And by the way, I mean, not me, because I'm not on Twitter. What is the first claim that someone made? This is a financial person made this claim on Twitter.
Yes. This person's actually a CFP and said, quote, so fancy, quote, I'm definitely oversimplifying, but for most people, if you save 20% of your gross income, you don't need a budget. Spend the rest.
Okay, so the person definitely is oversimplifying, but it's okay because sometimes when you give advice to the masses, Kristen, you have learned you have to oversimplify, and we've talked about this in the show, and you are going to hit the wrong audience with that piece of advice, and it will not apply to them. But what do you think about the merits of this one?
I do appreciate this content creator getting out in front of it and being like, hey, maybe this won't apply to you. But I also don't think that it's applicable to enough people for it to be like shouted to the masses. And maybe that was ultimately the goal, is to just stir traffic around the topic. But I don't I think that it oversimplifies not just your financial health, but us as people. I just think that we need more structure than that to hit our goals or to optimize our life. And truthfully, coming from a CFP, that's why it was so surprising to me. Is I feel like financial professionals tend to say, okay, let's come up with a plan for this and this and this and this. And it's like, oh, do we need all of this? And then here we have someone just like totally scaling that back on something that I feel is a pillar of financial health.
I mean, look, I do love distilling down really complex things into very bite-sized pieces. This one I think I disagree with too. And again, it's just a perspective opinion thing. The person could
Mhm.
be right, I could be wrong. I'll just give you my wrong opinion though. We like around here 12 to 14% of gross minimum just for long-term savings. Okay?
Right.
So that's the long-term savings. Um, and look, I don't want stability and financial health only when I'm 59 and a half years old. I want some stability and financial health both now and 5 years from now, even though it looks like I'm 54 and a half years old. And so I have an issue with that because I think it shorts out the short-term and mid-term savings goals. That's where I end up having an issue with it. Where's your issue exactly? Oh my gosh, your audio went out. Did you just mute yourself, Kristen? Oh my gosh, I cannot hear you. What an awkward moment. What an awkward moment. All right. We will try to get your sound back. I cannot hear you. That is okay. Are you back? All right. Here's what you'll do. You reset, you come back. I'll continue the idea here. So here's the challenge. I like 10% of your income to go to short and midterm savings. We love 12 to 14% to go to long-term savings. And the other factor here in this, with this piece of information, it doesn't account, do you have a 2-income household, a 1-income household, or anything in the like. We talked about it before. We want to simplify your financial life. I love the idea. Again, I've given some pretty simple things. I like the idea that 25% of your income goes towards housing. That's take-home pay. I like that no more than 15% of your income goes towards transportation. But we also, at the same time, when we give that piece of advice, we acknowledge the fact that it's entirely possible it doesn't apply to you. You may live in an area that's virtually impossible to have 25% of your income goes towards housing. You may live in a scenario in which you should absolutely not have 15% of your income go to transportation. It should be closer to 5 based on what's going on in your life. So that is always the challenge of a financial life, is these rules of thumb are sometimes not applicable. I will also note the reverse can be true. You often hear from people like us that you should hit the match at all times. You should hit the employer match. While we agree with that, there's what comes after that statement where people often forget. If you only hit the match, if you only contribute up to your 401k where your employer stops contributing, you will not accomplish your financial goals. And if you say things like, well, I'm just going to hit the match until I take care of this, you still will not hit your financial goals. That's why that 12 to 14% is so important, as opposed to a big gross 20% number. Kristen is efforting her way back into the show right now. This is the nature of live radio. Sometimes you drop off and the other person stammers around. Now, another piece of advice came in, and what we'll do is we'll make it the next segment here. Another tweet that we saw this week was a pretty aggressive checklist on whether or not you should be a homeowner. There is no doubt. There is absolutely no doubt that homeownership is a lot harder than it used to be. But some of these factors that is reported here today as to what makes you eligible to own a home, we think they're a tad bit aggressive. Now, we did get an email in that we'll cover here today at askpete@petetheplanner.com. Someone emailed us and it said, Dear Pete, not a question, but thought you would want to see this. Oh, well, great. So thanks for sending a thought. Good day, Sir Pete. At the end of episode 492, which was 3 episodes ago, I was feeling a bit left out as you teased up some hilarious Carmelite nonsense from your trip to England. I wanted to let you know that there might be a tiny market of people, myself included, that would be willing to pay a negligible amount of money for a subscription to the show if you told these very insightful Carmelite things. Well, here's the thing. I will not do that. Kristen joins us back on the show. Hello, Kristen.
Hopefully Kristen has audio.
Kristen has audio. Kristen,
Yay.
Read the tweet. Thank you for that comment, Aaron. Read the second tweet for us, if you would, please.
Sure. The second tweet, should I buy a house? A checklist. The items are, will I live here for 10 plus years?
Okay.
Is the total monthly housing cost lower than 28% of gross monthly income? Have I saved 20%? Am I okay if the value goes down? Am I excited about buying?
Okay, so let's just tackle these on their merits, and then we will probably bleed into the next segment here. Let's start with the 10 years thing. That's pretty aggressive. I've always liked the 5-year marker. 10 would suggest that you're going to go through 2 market swings. Do you think 10's too aggressive?
I don't think people stay in houses for 10 years anymore. It's too much.
Well, that doesn't mean that they shouldn't. I mean, it's a different issue.
True.
Yeah, I mean, if this person is saying to do it in a perfect world, 10 years is great, but I agree with you. It is unrealistic. Let's do this. Let's take a break. Coming up after the break, we're going to comb through the rest of the list. A very distilled homeowners checklist. That's next right here on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. You know, you get paid the big bucks around here to know what to do when things go wrong. And that's my job. Oddly enough, you know, I had to fill some space there. I didn't love my performance.
I did not touch anything. I have no idea what happened.
I'm not worried about it. I am frustrated with my own performance there, though. So
I'm sorry.
I will do better next time. No, don't apologize. I will do. I am sorry. I will do better next time. That is amateur hour right there for me. All right, let's come back. Let's just do the rest of it. Jason makes a really good point that I'll probably steal. I think people who got 2 to 3% rate mortgages are going to stay in their houses for 10 plus years. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the other thing. And I guess maybe I should save it for there. But I'll tell you, Kristen, because I'm going to forget, and you can just remind me what my brilliant point was.
Okay.
With interest rates so high, why commit to staying in that home for 10 years when it may not make sense if interest rates are going to come back down? I know that can be a refinance thing and all that. It just seems weird to commit for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's good advice because he's right, but it's just so unrealistic.
It's good medicine. That's what I like to tell people. Like, good medicine is good medicine. But are people going to take it? Like, no.
Is it a good idea to give my wife a foot rub for 30 minutes every night? Yes. Do I do it? No. Right. It's a great idea. Brilliant idea. Can't execute on it.
That's valid. I like the metaphor.
Maybe not. Maybe she won't. Okay. So let's come back and hit that. And let's hope we can hear Kristen throughout the show so you don't get to see my just remedial effort to kill time. It was bad. I went to the email. It was weird. It's like, hey, you know what? Let's do this. Let's try. Oh, I just got an email from Aaron. What the hell's going on?
Oh, no.
Okay, neat. In 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner Show, joined by the very audible Kristen Elanius. Kristen, you were just reading a tweet that suggested that a person, in order to feel comfortable buying a home, they should commit to living there for 10 years. They should make sure their payment is no larger than 28% of their gross income. They want to put 20% down. They want to be a homeowner. And what are the other two, like, qualitative ones?
If they're okay if the value goes down.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Okay, so we're back to the 10-year thing. You and I think it's a good idea, but it's just unrealistic.
Yeah, I don't think it's realistic at all.
Here's why I think it's unrealistic. Who in the world knows the next 10 years of their life when they're in their 20s?
Bingo.
So is the person saying, hey, by the way, when you're in your 20s, don't buy a home?
Yeah, our life circumstances change all the time. And even if you get, okay, so let's say you have kids in your younger 20s, and then you say, okay, well, 30s, this is going to be the year that we're going to stay. Like, okay, what happens when like your family dynamic change? If a kid moves out or if you have a boomerang kid, like life is just not, I know it's an oversimplification and I'm kind of feeding into it, but it's just too simple.
Maybe this episode should be called The Danger with Over Distilled Financial Advice.
I like that. Yeah, I think it fits.
The second factor, and I think we could actually debate this one for a little bit. I don't know where you stand on this. 28% of gross income, that your payment is no more than 28% of gross income. I don't know if you know this, Kristen, but the ideal household budget created by Pete the Planner is based off of net income, because I feel like making your payment based off your gross income makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, it doesn't take into consideration other goals. It doesn't take into consideration, what am I saving for retirement? What do I need to be putting in some emergency savings, an intermediate goal that I might have? I just prefer to look at take home, like what's in my pocket, and then how much is that going to squeeze my monthly budget?
On top of this, think about this for a moment. Let's say you live in a high a high state income tax state, okay, a high one. And you also have bad coverage, health insurance coverage, or expensive health insurance coverage through your employer, and you're saving a lot, and you happen to have some other thing that you're deferring your paycheck to, and you go off the gross number, that's unrealistic. It's terribly unrealistic. By going off of net take-home pay, what hits your account, you're much more accurately to feel how your lifestyle and your choices impact each other. Now, I do know that banks, they look at your gross, but then they also look at your obligations off of your gross. But just simply looking off your gross without looking at the obligations, it's bad medicine.
Okay.
I don't know. You said good medicine earlier. I wanted to be cool. I don't know what that means, but you sounded so cool saying it.
Well, I appreciate that. I do like, though, I don't want to be like exclusively negative with respect to this tweet, but I do really like the 28%. I think still pulls people down from what we're currently collectively spending on housing. And I do think it's important to remember that, like, just because you can get a loan for a higher amount of your monthly income doesn't mean that you should, doesn't mean that you should try and grow into a mortgage payment, all these things that we say all the time. So, and I know that people on the coast tend to get really upset when we say things like that, but I still think it's true.
That's fair. After we disclose this last element of this tweet, I have a secret I'm going to share with you, Kristen, that has just occurred to me.
Oh, no.
So the next one is that a 20% down payment. Kristen, that's a lot of money. And again, what we are saying again is this tweet suggests that no one in their 20s is buying a home.
No, absolutely not. The median home price is like 400 and some thousand now or something like that. Like, no, but I have a hard time believing that 20% is realistic. I also think that I like the principle of, hey, save 20% of your income, prove that you can break dependence on your income, because homeownership will force you to do that. But I don't think that it has to necessarily be in the form of a down payment. And full disclosure, I did not put 20% down on my house for that very reason, because I don't necessarily think that you have to.
You know, every once in a while, someone will give you a recipe online, and you'll make the recipe and you'll realize that it doesn't have the right amount of baking soda. The actual chemistry of the recipe is nonsense. It can't succeed. This tweet cannot succeed. And here's why. If you are taking 28% of your income to go towards housing, and you've not factored in what's coming out of your paycheck before it hits your bank account, in order to have the retirement stability one must have, there's no way to save 20% down payment while you were in your 20s. You also can't actually commit to living someone for 10 years early in your career it doesn't, like, none of this actually sticks together. In a perfect world, in a vacuum of which I'm taller and have hair and smell better, is it possible? Yeah, of course it's possible. But this is why I want to reveal a secret to you, Kristen.
Oh, no.
It's a good secret. Maybe. You can find a tweet. I promise you. Don't take the time to do it because it's silly. You can find a tweet of mine probably 10 years ago in which I gave very similar advice, but here's what mine was. 25% of take-home pay, 5 years, 10% down payment. Your boy distilled down the same thing, but he did it in a way that actually makes sense. And the thing is, I believe the down payment is an incredibly important function and mechanism within the process of buying a house. And it's not to have a lower payment. It's to show that you have the muscle to accumulate funds, because in order to be a homeowner successfully, you're constantly going to get kicked in the shorts with expenses and maintenance. And if you're not the person that can rub two nickels together, you're in trouble. The 20% is just silly. I know it's meant to avoid PMI, but there's so many other ways to avoid PMI. Kristen, I know that arguably I'm your employer. I do know that I am your employer. I mean, if we really went and looked to it, if we looked at the paycheck, I believe my signature is somehow on there. But I will note this. Is it? Might be. I don't know if
I don't know.
Well, look at this. But my guidelines are a lot better than this person's guidelines.
Yes.
And by the way, I follow my own guidelines. At some time, I put 10% down. And then I did a 80-10-10, as they used to call it in the biz, which was an 80% loan, a 10% loan, and a 10% down payment. And it worked out just fine.
Yeah, I think the thing to drive away from what you just said there is it's about proving that you can flex that saving muscle. I don't want the takeaway from this to be like, oh, yeah, you can put a really small amount down, well, and meet the other criteria. Well, you still need to be able to save as you go as well. So if you're putting less down, it has to be in lieu of another like big goal that's moving your financial health forward, or something that's also contributing to power percentage. It can't just be like, well, I want to keep the money and use it for whatever I want.
I hate to make this segment about how hard it is to give advice to the masses, but it's really hard. And this person who retweeted this, by the way, has a much larger platform than I have.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, this person has a Netflix show. I just disagree. I mean, it's okay. Right?
It's so hard to give people advice. And you can even come at it with like the other tweet that we looked at that was like, I'm definitely oversimplifying. And then you're still going to have people like us who are going to, break it over the coals. But that is what's so hard, is you can put all of these if, ands, or buts in front of it. But to just give advice like some of us try to do, or like we do, it's not easy.
I would also like to say, sometimes these big oversimplified advice, people don't check their privilege at the door.
Yes.
And like the idea that, let's say you grew up in a one-parent household and you are a first-generation college student, all of the things we've just described, you're not a homeowner until you're 40, under most circumstances. And so I think it's unrealistic advice that is not helpful to people who did not grow up in an ideal situation. Off the soapbox, onto my advice from this week's newspaper column. Well, Kristen will tell us whether it's good or not. That's next on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Kristen's co-host. Look, I've never really consumed that person's content in mass. I just haven't. I've read a couple tweets, or maybe an article, but I've always really respected the person. I other than the tagline, I don't love, but I respect their approach. And I don't. You know what I'm saying? I don't respect the tag. You know what I mean by the tagline? Yes. I think that's gross, but yes, I really like the person's demeanor. I just so disagree with that. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have a feeling on this person? I know this is so weird, people. Like, we're just trying to be honest. Like, the person's probably great. They're doing their best, and they've helped millions of people. I don't know. I just think they missed the target on this.
I think on this, because I've seen other like videos that people have shared of this person speaking that I've been like, yep, I subscribe to that. So I just think that maybe on this one it was a miss. But that, to your point, I don't know what my temperature is like overall of being like, yeah, I feel like we're in the same lane, or I feel like we're not, because I think most of my exposure to this point has been in maybe a subsector of the way they talk. I don't know if that's how this person presents themselves all the time based on this tweet.
Feels like middle school. Like we're not giving the person's name. I also want to, here, I'm going to say a thing and then I will say the person's name. I have absolutely put advice and guidance out there that has missed the mark. And I encourage anyone, whether they have a higher or lower profile than we do here, to criticize it. And I would love to get better and not give weird advice sometimes. But I don't know. This one, it's the I will teach you to be rich person.
Mm-hmm.
What's the person's name?
Ramit.
Great work, very successful, big. I was gonna say big fan. That's insincere. I think the person's great, but I don't know much about them. But that just misses the mark. And I've discussed this before, and we are veering way off topic. To be in the public and to be in the media and to feel like you need to stay relevant is an unbelievable pressure. It just is. And there's a couple different paths you can go. One is to make constantly bolder and bolder statements, hot takes that are provocative. The other, and it's the path that I've chosen to take, and so of course it's the one I agree with, is to try to become more realistic and try to become more down to earth and stay more down to earth. And look, I hope there's not a point in time, honestly, that I cross over to unrealistic and not down to earth. But and I'll stop this when I do. But I want to be more understanding of why people can't, as opposed to harder on the people who say they can't.
Yeah, I think I fully agree with that take. And there's another content creator on TikTok who does not subscribe to that idea. And I just have a really hard time. They're becoming like pretty popular in the space. And I just have a really hard time with it. And I don't think, I get it. It's this thing that drives algorithm and drives views. And I don't think that it makes us collectively better. So.
Oh, Kristen, I just got a payout from the videos I posted 8 years ago on Udemy. Udemy. Have you heard of Udemy?
No.
It's like one of those sites where you can go and learn anything. And like years and years and years ago, we put a series of videos out there. And someone has taken a course of mine, and I just received.
Like a royalty check?
Yeah. I just received $3.34. Now, will the I will teach you to be rich guy like that? He taught me how to do that. He taught me how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, dude, not that he's not consuming us, unless he has got the old comb the internet for my name being said. He's not going to hear that crappy little joke of mine. I also don't care. Okay, good work, buddy. That was to both you and him.
Thank you.
Chris.
Mm.
Oh, why did I open that? Okay, we're talking about content that sucks. We're now gonna do my column for this week. I like this one. This one sort of hit me. It was on an airplane. It made sense to me. So we're gonna please be honest and critical if you can. Okay, can you do
that? Sure.
All right. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay. I'm ready.
Ready.
3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show. Kristen, I write a newspaper column, amongst other places, the Indianapolis Business Journal. It's a journal with business topics in the Indianapolis area.
It's named pretty appropriately then, isn't it?
Yeah, and this week's column really was, this is my 25th year, officially this month, my 25th year in the financial business, which is, I'm a quarter century. Heck, man. You're barely 25.
I was going to say, that's not good. Yeah.
So what I love about this business, and it actually plays into what we just talked about, is the further I get into it, the more I realize how complex things are, that they're not actually simple. And so early on in my career, I'd give hot take advice in which I just really simplify things and like, yeah. And then the older I've gotten, I started to realize like, man, this is a little bit more complicated than you think. And so there's one peculiarity that I've noticed that I still struggle to get my head around. And I believe this to be true. And it just blows my mind. And it's this: a pay raise is more likely to make your retirement goals harder as opposed to easier. And that is a mind-blowing realization over the last 25 years for me, is that when a person gets a raise, that raise will likely lead to retirement being harder for them than easier for them. And I would love to walk you through it. So, Kristen, you are nearer the beginning of your personal finance journey than me. At first glance, I give you the phrase. You didn't fake like your sound went out, did you? Well, what do you think about it?
So far, I really love it, because one of my favorite things to say kind of internally is, when you need less, you need less. So if you live a simpler life, if you have a lower income, we talk about this on the show sometimes, where we have someone who's like, trying to pay off that mortgage right as they're trying to, get Social Security checks. And you're like, well, the beauty of this is that you're used to having like this squeeze on your monthly budget. And like I said, you and Dame, more than the three of us have talked about that a lot. So I think when you need less, you need less.
Can you do that with anything? Like, I like cheese. I like cheese. No, couldn't you do that with anything?
I feel like that's not the same.
I brushed my teeth this morning. It's not the same thing.
Not the same.
I'm sorry. Okay. So here's there's a couple things we need to get out of the way to discuss this appropriately. First off, if you don't get a pay increase that is equal to inflation rate, then that's super problematic, right? Like we at least need you to get up there. So I'm talking any compensation boost or promotion, for that matter, above the rate of inflation. Now, in the last couple of years, this has certainly, pulled us into a fit of attention. Like we're like, oh my gosh, inflation. In previous years, 2 to 3% was much easier to stomach. But here's where I think my point begins to make sense. Okay. So I want everyone right now to think about all the stuff and the categories of stuff in their life. Okay. So Kristen, I want you to think about the quality of car you drive and what you spend on it, the quality of food you buy and what you spend on it, the type of vacations and what you spend on it. And I want you to put them on a scale of 1 to 5. At 1 is inexpensive, low quality. And at 5 is expensive and high quality. My assertion is that at the beginning of your career, which we're going to call the baseline, you have to make decisions about what you're buying and how you're spending money on this quality of stuff scale, 1 to 5. So for instance, you might have a 3 level TV, a 2 level car, a 2 level wardrobe, a 2 level home expenditure, and a 1 level food and drink relationship. Okay. So that's your base level. And on top of that, you have a certain amount of money you set aside for short and long-term goals, which hopefully is more than 20% of your gross income. Okay. Right. So are we level set so far, my friend?
I think I know where you're going with this. I think I understand. We're good.
Okay. So then as things change, sometimes just taste. Sometimes just understanding yourself, like maybe you got to switch to a more expensive deodorant because the one you were buying, which is a level 1, irritated you. Or maybe you find a better conditioner for your skin or whatever. It's just like these things are a quality of life, or trash bags that don't rip. And so you go from a 1 to a 2, and then you're like, you know what? I like wine. So now I'm going to spend 2 or 3, or I don't want to go to Champaign, Illinois for vacation. I want to go to Chicago, Illinois. So you go from a 2 to a 3. And so all of these things happen. And all of a sudden you realize that it's your pay increase, which makes the natural ones like, hey, my deodorant stinks, I need a new one. That's a smelly joke. And also I want a better car. It starts to eat up whatever gains you make. And so you get into this point in time of that the reason you can't actually successfully retire is because more of your income is used to create a dependency on all of these obligations, as opposed to creating equality within your financial baseline, which is how much you're saving towards your short-term and long-term goals. Now, Kristen, I know this is a very complex concept that I was able to capture in 737 words. But is this tracking, or are you calling BS on this?
No, I am tracking with it. I also would like to push the point a little bit further, maybe, and say that is it not just about quality, but I think quantity of consumption enters the chat as well. When you think about when you were at the beginning of your career, I think we tend to pay attention to things like the temperature in the house for the AC bill, or we pay attention to the like again the temperature for the gas bill. I think that quantity is part of that conversation as well. When you have that comfort and you increase your income, you're like, we can afford to turn the thermostat down, or we can afford to do these other things. I'm totally on board.
I think I have a really old guy hot take that's about to come out of my lips.
Wonderful.
Okay, so there are things that I like that also happen to be branded. Like, I wear a lot of tech vests, like a tech bro. I wear Patagonia vests, and I like it. I like the quality. Do I like the fact that the patch is there? I would say no, but I don't know. Maybe I do. But if someone is buying branded things because it's the branded thing, and they have to pay a lot for that, and am I talking Louis bags? I don't know. Possibly. How much of that? I mean, so you're going from, I need something to carry my stuff, into I'm paying a 6 on the 5 scale to carry my stuff. That seems problematic.
It does seem problematic, and I think that another takeaway or another parallel I would like to draw is I asked the question years ago. I was like, how much money do you have to feel like it's no big deal to fly first class all the time? Is that on this scale too? Like, the plane's going to get there.
Man, can we do a whole segment on that next week?
Okay, sure.
Can we? Because
Yeah.
I have thoughts, needless to say. Needless to say, I have thoughts, and I will share those on that. Can I go back to the purse thing for a half second? Like,
Yes.
the idea that there are counterfeit purses and counterfeit Rolexes, I feel like that illustrates my point. You know, I feel like that illustrates the point that it's like, this isn't about the quality.
Right.
It's about the appearance of the quality, which means you're going up to 5 on the scale for no reason.
For the appearance, I guess.
I see. I told you these are old guy hot takes. But anyway, if you want to read the column, go to ibj.com. Subscribe to the IBJ. I feel like I have to say that contractually.
That's fair.
I don't think I can repost the articles for free on our blog.
That's probably not allowed. No.
I think that's a copyright infringement. All right, let's do this. Coming up after the break, biggest waste of money of the week. In the news, Kristen, you're reading the news this week since Dame's on his little getaway.
I sure am.
Next on the Pete the Planner Show, I'm Pete the Planner. I have lots of opinions on first class.
Same.
Do you want to do them now? Well, no, we promised the radio audience. I feel bad when we, sometimes when we do that, where there's not continuity in the show, like, we'll either bring up something on the radio that we talked about on the pod, and then or vice versa, and it feels bad.
We do that.
I had another bubbling hot take start to appear this week. Again, the more travel I do, the more I just get annoyed at things, and then that's where hot takes happen. And it became like I'm actually not going to go into it. It's so offensive. Okay. Well, I'll tell you out there.
The show within the show within the show.
Oh, yes. What, Danza? There are plant-based Reese's cups. Aren't peanuts plants?
Yeah, but it's going to be the chocolate. But I mean, if they just use dark chocolate, why wouldn't it be plant-based?
Oh, so I would assume it's the dairy within the milk chocolate.
And I'm sure that they put some dairy byproduct in the peanut butter to make it creamier.
Yeah, good call. your twin, your doppelganger. You've been in the business almost as long as I've been alive. Thanks, Caitlin. Thanks a lot. Not on the Christmas card list. Do you send holiday cards, Kristen?
No,
No.
I don't. I don't have it that together.
Yeah.
Maybe someday.
I used to think they were a waste, and then now I'm the old guy that loves seeing people's like kids and families and stuff.
I love it because I have friends literally all over the world because of life circumstances, and like seeing them on the fridge is so nice. Like I still have one of my friends like announcements that they were pregnant on the fridge that was part of their Christmas card because I'm just like I literally never see her, so I like it.
I don't like that we've started taking like the image of me off of Christmas cards, that I don't like people seeing me age on their fridge. Pilot Jeremy weighs in, just signed in, want to be part of the conversation next week on First Class. We can wait a couple of weeks. You're on vacation next week. Don't consume us when you're on vacation with your family. Please don't subject your family to us. Yeah.
Speaking of which, do you think that Dame is not watching this?
Oh God. I mean, here's the thing. The show doesn't happen when with all due respect, when I'm not working. So I would, but if it was, I would never log on. If it was just you two, I love you both, but like I wouldn't log on.
Wow.
You log on when you're not supposed to be. And Dame's totally watching right now.
Well, and maybe that's the difference in, I don't know what types of vacations, but like I generally just like take a long weekend just so that I can start my weekend early. That's really common for me. So if I'm not here on a Friday, it might just be because I wanted to start my Friday early. So I don't feel, but if I was on like a week long deal, I don't think that I would watch the show. I think it's different.
I don't know. No one knows, Kristen. All right. You ready for Blom and news? Did you write fun jokes like Dame does?
I did not write fun jokes. I'm not funny.
When Dame does his news, like half the time I'm like, this sounds horrible. This is gonna sound terrible. I'm like, did someone else write that, or is he writing that?
I think that he gives himself that much time to think about the news because Dame is funny. You just got to give him a minute sometimes to be funny. And he comes up with some real zingers sometimes. So.
He is funny. That's funny. I don't know why I said it in that voice. Let's move on. Okay, let me get ready here. Old man. All right. Feeling pretty good about this first one here.
Oh no, it's just me guessing.
Yeah, I know. That's why.
Great.
I win.
Great. I get to win for once.
Okay, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. This week's biggest waste of money of the week, right here on the Pete the Planner show, is Aesop Avail Facial Sunscreen Lotion. Sunscreen isn't just for the summer, but it is just around the corner. Keep your face protected year-round with the Aesop Avail Facial Sunscreen Lotion. The lightweight formula provides SPF 25, or what us gingers call amateur hour, to the surface of your skin to provide a broad spectrum shield against damaging rays. At the same time, it also lays down a rich layer of hydration as well as the antioxidant benefits from green tea and vitamin E. Its quick absorption won't leave behind a greasy residue, just a fresh, herbaceous aroma. Now, I am a little bit of a sunscreen expert. I just have to tell you, when you have the complexion of me, you carry around a jar of Hellmann's mayonnaise and spread it all on yourself at all times. Kristen, what is your relationship with, we are going to talk about your skincare regimen, because I feel like this is creepy. It feels like your skin could take on a tan pretty easily.
Yes, I do tan really easily, and I take skin protection very seriously. I don't like tan. I try to keep sun off my face. So I do have a decent amount of exposure in this space. How many ounces is this?
Okay, thank you for asking. A paltry 1.8 ounces, which,
oh my.
Yeah, I think that's 300 mils or something like that. It is travel. Oh, actually, 1.8 is super small. I think travel size is 3.8.
Yeah, it's like 3.4 or 3.8. So it's pretty small.
1.8. Okay, so this is half of what you're able to take on a plane.
Mm-hmm.
Half of what you're able to take on a plane. What do you think?
I'm not familiar with this brand, which makes it a little hard. So I'm going to say 30.
Okay. Can you imagine, just for a moment, you go to CVS just prior to getting your receipt, the size of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and you go to make a purchase for what is probably my thumb, a thumb-sized bottle of sunscreen that's 25 on the SPF scale, and it's just arguably for your face. It's just for your face. Not even for the rest of this vessel that we call my temple. That was my body, Kristen. I was referencing my body. I didn't want to make you throw up. You haven't eaten lunch yet. $60.
Wow.
$60. And like, I got to be honest, soccer tournament this weekend. Upon my return home today, I'm going to go into Kivs, also called CVS, and I'm going to buy a spray bottle of SPF like 9 million, and it's going to be like $13. And will I spray it on my face? Yeah, I will. I don't care. Yeah, it'll clog my lungs with things and my eyes and my pores, but I'm not a model.
But is it actually protecting your skin, Pete?
Yes, I don't burn. Also, an important note here. I am going to be wearing pants and a long sleeve shirt and a dad hat and a neck gaiter all weekend long in 79-degree weather during the sun of a soccer game this weekend. That's who I am.
Your sun or your skin thanks you for not exposing it to the sun.
I would also like to say my wife benefits because I don't have random women just get so attracted to me in public based on that look that she doesn't have to worry about competition, if you know what I mean.
That's a win for her. Yeah, protecting your skin for the long term, not having to worry in the short term. Go, Mrs. Planner.
I feel like she would just carry around like a handbook on how, like my instruction manual. And if someone shows interest, she would just hand the book to them, like, good luck. Take him, please.
That's incredible and very on brand. Yeah.
What's in the news this week, Kristen?
A few things. The exact 6-figure salary that Gen Z and millennials need to feel like they've made it. Do you want to take a guess? Family Feud?
Yeah. Gen Z and millennials, how much do they have to wait? Is it how much they have to tell people they make to know they've made it?
How much would their salary have to be for them to be like, I've made it?
Okay.
Gen Z first. The youngers.
Oh, the youngers. Oh gosh, I'm gonna be so out of touch on this. Holy cow! Well, Dane would be too. We're the same.
This is how I feel when you do bomb. Just so you know.
Okay. Oh boy. Well, how to think? Jeez. 150.
It's 124.
Okay, I almost said 125, and then I was like, well, that's weird. Okay.
And then millennials.
Who are they? Older?
Slightly older. I'm a very young millennial. So me, and then like I don't know, however long. 20? Is it 15 years? 20 years?
175.
120.
What?
So
they get more realistic.
Correct.
See,
However, the current median income is $69,717. So a far cry from them feeling as though they've made it. Bummer.
I definitely, if we're being honest here, which is we try to be, there's numbers in my head as to I sort of make gross evaluations about my view of making it an income. Right? I'm not going to tell them to you, but I would say, like, if I'm being honest, I do that too. Do you do that?
Oh yeah. I do that for sure. There was a comment on the original news article that was one you said earlier. You were like, well, maybe we should check our privilege. There was a comment on that article that I'm sure you can only imagine that was like, maybe we should check our privilege before we make such comments.
Which is also why I did not disclose my number, because I checked my privilege. What else is in the news?
Low tax states gain residents from California and New York. IRS data show that low tax states attract people and billions of dollars moving from high tax states like California and New York. By findings show that more than 84,000 New Yorkers moved to Florida, another state with no income tax. Florida gained over $11 billion in former New Yorkers alone.
I know a handful of people who have made these sorts of moves that you've just described. Some for financial reasons. I mean, and if we're being as transparent as we aim to be, a lot for political reasons too.
Yeah, it's hard because I would like to think that if I had so much money that I was like legitimately concerned about the 12.3% tax rate in California, the highest rate, that I would be like, you know what? I've I've I have made it. I have the opportunity to be upset that this is my problem and live in San Diego where it's beautiful like all the time. I would like to think that at some point I would have enough money that I would be satisfied with paying it to live like in San Diego, for example, but maybe not.
It's not unusual for professional athletes to choose a free agency
Mhm.
destination based on tax rate. I mean, that's a really common thing. And so this is just an extension of that, of like, once you're in it and then you're like, remote work is more of a thing. I can call in from wherever. Let's call in from wherever. So this all tracks, right?
Mhm.
Any other news stories this week, Kristen?
Confessions of a Shopaholic. Men are bigger spenders than women. Stereotypes suggest it's women who love to shop, but actually men spend 40% more than women when shopping on a range of purchases.
100% agree. Do you?
100%. Oh yeah, and their data supports it. They were actually talking about, I had never heard of the lipstick index, which is where the theory is that sales of affordable luxuries rise in economic downturns because women try to present like they have it together. And they were kind of trying to dismantle that. And the data supported that men actually do shop more than women.
Yeah, I buy that. Like, here's the thing. If I'm going to buy something, like, I will usually spend money in bigger chunks.
Yep.
I think Mrs. Planner probably spends money more frequently, but also, I mean, she's the one primarily buying stuff for the kids. It's all our money, by the way. I'm just saying, out of the account that she uses. And if I buy myself something, it's going to be a higher ticket item, but a lot less frequently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the data supports that too. That it's the individual purchases are higher ticket, and it's more when they do. So,
well, Kristen, this was quite the pleasure co-hosting your show with you this week. Thanks for allowing me to do so. To those listening, I offer you this: simply good vibes, because good vibes are all that's in the budget. Dame's back next week. I think. I haven't looked at the spreadsheet. I'm Pete the Planner. This is the Pete the Planner Show. Kristen, can I gas you up a little bit here?
Yeah.
Excellent job.
Thank you.
I was, this is for everyone else now, so just shh and listen to me talk about you. Kristen, I was at an industry event this week, and at the industry event, so many people came up to me and said, I love Kristen. And I said, that is creepy. They said they love the show, and one of their favorite parts of the show is what you bring to the show. And I love hearing compliments about my coworkers more than I like hearing them about myself these days. And so that made me very happy. So thank you for being such a big part of the show.
Well, thank you for passing that on. That makes me feel good. I appreciate it.
I love that you have fans. I love it. It is very exciting.
I fangirl really hard when I hear something that someone has said. I'll tell you a story off the air. But when I hear something that someone else has said, I fangirl over them. So.
Oh, I heard this story. Is it this week? This happened like in the last week here?
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, it was a big deal. Yeah.
Oh, let's just say it. You don't want to.
I don't want to because it was information given to me secondhand. Okay. So otherwise I would.
Don't be professional. Dame, as long as he does not get eaten by a bear, he'll be back next week.
That's good.
I mean, if he did though, it'd be a great pod. Us telling people about it. I feel like it'd be a lot of paperwork, but I feel like I'd have to do paperwork for his life insurance and stuff here, but it would be a good story.
But then I would have to do the news in perpetuity, and I'm not really down for that. It's a lot of work.
It's harder than you think.
Yes.
Yeah, Jeremy's right. Kristen's become a major player, brings the vibe to the right spot. All right. Well, Here's what you can expect next week on the show. You can expect stories of Michigan. I will be in Michigan all week. And then the next week's going to get wild. Charleston and then Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be with Aqua. So you know it's
going
to be a good time. All right. That's it, y'all. Stay getting money.